Well, greetings. I guess as you can see, it's finally happened. No, just kidding. All right, well, here we go. Friday night, Friday night's one of my favorite nights of the week. And most nights of the week are my favorite nights. I really like what I'm doing here, so I'm having a good time. It is Friday night, though. Today is, Today is March 18th, 2022. It's supposed to be a fairly nice weekend here in northern Michigan. Today was kind of a relapse of winter. We had precipitation and it was down around 30. So it was not as great of a day as yesterday was, because yesterday we had bright skies and it was up to 50 degrees. The day before that was beautiful too. And we thought, oh, this is great. Most of the snow and ice is gone, and I love it. I love coming out of winter. I like going into winter too, but it's always nice to come out of it and then start to see the new growth and hear the birds chirping and all that good stuff. So that's what we got going on. And when that happens, I start to get really excited about the season that's coming. And I would like to talk about that a little bit tonight, if we could. Hey, Keith, how you doing? Just briefly, because some things have come up, and I just want to put a few words of wisdom out there, from the homestead. Let's see. So for me today, this is how my day went. I'll tell you how my day went. I had to go over to a friend's house. I needed to buy 2 little pigs from him because I had a customer that wanted 4, and I had 2. And so I went over to his house and I bought 2. And but it was too late because the customer that wanted the 4 showed up here a day early yesterday. And so I had 4, but 2 of them were breeding stock, but I had to let her have them because she needed 4. So it didn't work out so good, but I was on my way home from buying these 2 pigs, and another customer called and said, "Have you got a couple pigs?" And I said, "Matter of fact, I do." And I said, "They're not, they're a mix of Mangalitsa and large black, so they kind of look like a belted Galloway." And she says, "Oh, that's perfect, because we have a theme going on our farm. We have a dog that's black and white, and we have black and white cows, and we have, I don't know." So it worked out really good. So those pigs will go to her. So everything worked out. I got home, finished unloading some wood off of my trailer, and then we needed to go down to Tustin to pick up another load of wood, a load of 2x4s. And when I buy wood from this sawyer that I've been using now for a couple of years, and I'm getting to be friends with the guy. He's an Amish guy. And we went down there, and he was boiling sap, right? So we went in the sap house and chatted with him for a while. And he says, "If you'd like to go over into the greenhouse and see what my wife and daughters are doing over there, you're more than welcome." And it was me and Jill and Frank. So we went over there, and I've never seen a more organized greenhouse ever in my life. Never. This is the most organized greenhouse I've ever seen. And they do a lot of things in that greenhouse. It's a big one. They do starts, and then they do potted plants, and they do succulents. They buy and sell stuff. So, they're sort of a facility, so they can buy stuff from down south, bring it up and put it in their greenhouse. And they do business with a lot of other Amish people that are south of us, bring the stuff up north. And really clean operation. Nice, super nice people. And, the wife dropped what she was doing and she showed us all around, and we got to talking about farming and where it's come and where it's going, and everything that they do on their farm is on farm. They don't go to farmers markets. They don't sell to retail. Well, they do sell to a retail store. There's an Amish store down in Tustin that if you're ever down there, I recommend going to, because a lot of the Amish in that area, they sell their stuff at that store. So there's furniture there. There's baked goods. We go there because they have a deli and you can get a really good sandwich. You can get a pop, all kinds of different stuff. They do this other thing that's pretty neat. They buy stuff in bulk, like they'll buy flour in 50-gallon drums, and then they'll break it down. So it's all just, you put it in a bag, seal the top, put it on the scale, weigh it, put the label on there, and put it on the shelf. And they can do that and make a gain. They're adding value to the product by breaking it down into smaller quantities and stuff. Really neat store, anyway. So when we were down there, it was a break from our farm. It was kind of rainy and icky here anyway, and we really need this wood. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I did a lot of thinking on the way back, and I've had people talk to me about what they want to do with their homesteads, and then tell me, well, I can't do it because of this and this. And I'm faced with giving some advice then. All right, well, what would you do then? Is pretty much what they're saying to me, or I hope. I mean, if somebody's going to come to me and say, I've got these obstacles, then they're probably looking for a solution, right? I would think. And we are not the type of people that are going to say, well, that's none of my business. I'm not going to get involved. No. If somebody's got a problem and they think I have the solution, why not? And if I don't have a solution, I would say, phew, I don't know. I don't know what I do with that one. But I don't think that that's me. I think I am a solution guy. And I think with every problem, it's sort of like you hit a Y in the road and it's time to prioritize. And so we were at this guy's place, and it's impressive because he's a really nice fella, and his wife is really nice too. We met her today, and the girls are super, helpful, and they're like my kids in a lot of ways. And I got to thinking, man, these people have gotten some things done. Because I said, how long have you all been here? And it's just 4 years. They've been farming for a long time, but if you know Amish, they bring a piece of property up to speed, they get something going, and then they sell it. And then they take that loot and they move up, they get a better thing going. And a lot of them, when they get to a certain level of building whatever they're doing, they will sell it and then they will go back to the homestead. The guy that we buy cutoffs from up here, he's the new owner, but I knew the previous owner that built the place. Him and his son built it. And he was, moving up. And finally, they got the mill up and running. It was making good money. They got everything paid for, put enough money away, and then sold it. And then they moved back to a small house. Now the kids are gone. And, just wanted to homestead. Just, garden and put up their own vegetables and grow their own meat and do a little butchering here and there. And that's kind of where we are, actually. We're at that point, too. I didn't get there the same way as the Amish do. Like, I worked for the Air Force for 20 years. And when I got out, we sold the farm that we had and then my retirement. And we put those two together, got this piece of property, and then developed this to where it is now, where it's doing pretty well. And, we are where we are now. And you guys kind of know where we are now. So example, this right here. This is the latest thing. What has dropped, I wouldn't say it dropped in our lap. I mean, we step forward first, and then we see that, hey, there's something to this. All right. So long time ago, 12 years ago now, we offered our first instructional. People are asking us, well, how do you do this? And there's a bunch. Okay, y'all come over on Saturday and we'll show you as a bunch. I think that's how it started. But it really started with an idea. Just like, hey, you think we ought to do this? That's where it started right there. And then somebody else said, yeah, I think we could. So it's probably Jill. It's probably me. I don't remember. That said, hey, you think we ought to do this? I don't remember who had the idea first. Doesn't matter. But that's where it began. It was just an idea, right? And so if you walk around this homestead, that's what it is, farm, homestead. It's more than a farm. It's a homestead, right? If you walk around here and you say, well, that's pretty nice. I like that. I would like to do that. If you look at it and you know the story or you ask about it, the story will show you the roadmap of how we got there. If you come on this farm, one of the first things that you'll see is a building that's board and bat on the outside. It's really rustic looking. It's got a green roof on it. It's got a great big door that's wide enough that, there's a rail sticking out that you can put a cow on and you can rail it in. It's an odd looking building, but that is the butcher shop. That's the butcher shop. And now it's actually got a sign on it that says butcher shop that I put on there about a couple weeks ago. I put a brand new door on it, and then I put this sign on it that says butcher shop, and it looks nice. It's starting to look better than it did. I mean, okay, so I don't want to go down any rabbit trails, but I'm trying to prove a point here. I'm trying to make a point. And I hope I make this point so you can say, oh, that's how that happens, right? Because when I decided I was going to go in the Air Force, it's like I said, okay, I'll do this. I went to a recruiting station, and they said, yep, this one's breathing. Here's a physical. And then when I showed up there, I didn't have to build the buildings. I didn't have to put the air conditioning in. I didn't have to put the beds in. I didn't have to do all that stuff. It was already there, and they said, get in line and shut your mouth. That's how that works. So that's one way of doing things. And I stayed with them for 20 years. And it was not because I joined and I said, I'm staying here for 20 years, get me a retirement. I didn't do that. I didn't see the retirement, honestly, until I was in for about 15 years. Honestly, I was kind of ignoring it. Like, I'm not staying here for that. Because the people that did that, I found to be a problem. Like their thing was, oh, it's all good towards 20, just stay, do the minimum and get that retirement, and I never did like that. So I ignored it until about 15 years. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to do this. I got a family. But it was more like I would do an enlistment and say, well, I can't get out now because the Gulf War is going on, right? I can't get out. They won't let you out. So my time comes. Do you going to enlist or are we going to extend you? I'll enlist. And then it made it so I could do certain things if I enlisted voluntarily, right? So before you knew it, I was close to 20 and I just said, I might as well stay. But This thing is different. When we got here, there was no butcher shop here. When we got here, you couldn't live in this house. We had to live in a tent. When we got here, you could throw a cat through the south wall of the barn, and that's no joke. You could throw a camel through the south wall of the barn. That's no joke. There was no maintenance shop. There was no fences. There was no pond. There was no place to swim. A lot of the hay fields were not hayable because they had trees growing up in them that were, this big around. So you couldn't cut hay on them. Let's see, what else wasn't there? Like, there was very little. There was very little. There was no garden area. There was junk equipment in the garden area. They had burned stuff out there, gross things. The barn hay mow, you couldn't walk on it. There was everything on that hay mow, from garbage bags that had been torn open 10 years prior, and the cats had dragged everything out that they wanted to. Diapers and tires, and there was everything on there. It was a total mess. When you turn the water on here, the water came out. But the place was a total mess. The electrical was horrible, and it was a total mess. And we didn't pay a whole lot for it. Back then, it seemed like a lot. Now, it doesn't seem like anything. But it started with the idea that, hey, we could probably fix this up. And me and Jill had done that with the other farm. We bought a junker, and we fixed it up. And when we turned it over, we made $45,000, which, being in the military, $45,000. Are you kidding? But that idea led to this idea. And then when we got here, it was like, well, what are we going to do here? Well, at the last farm, we had a little building that we converted into a butcher shop. And why did we do that? It's because a guy said to me, hey, how come you ain't butchering your own pigs? And he was a butcher. And I said, I don't know. He said, well, you should. And he was a butcher, and he said I should. And so I thought, well, maybe I can. And I did. And then we converted this. That building literally was almost the exact same size as this room that I'm in, which is 12, I believe that's 14, 12 by 14. Yeah, that's about how big that building was. And that building, actually, when we purchased that farm, was sitting on logs that were on their side. Somebody had moved it there from who knows where, and it was sitting on logs. There was this much space in between the bottom sill, and the wind in Montana makes everything lean, so it was leaning, and it was a I don't know what kind of building it was, to be honest with you. It was just built out of 2x4s. It had siding on the outside, had a roof. And the roof, believe it or not, was the roof that was on there when we left that farm. But I was looking at it, and I rocked it, and yeah, it rocked all right. And then later on, we uncovered a foundation up near the house. Who knows what was there? There was no way to know what was there, but whatever it was gone, and apparently had burned because there were nails everywhere, right? So I put a measuring stick on that foundation, and wouldn't you know, it was partially, not both ways, but one way, it was the right size. So that building needed to be moved over here and put on that foundation. Well, how in the hell are you going to do that? I wasn't as good at stuff like that then as I am now. And I didn't have a tractor. We had the Nissan pickup, and then we had a Dodge pickup, a Dodge D250. It was the 3/4 ton. It was a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive with the Cummins in it, you know. And so I devised a plan. We were going to put it on rollers, just like the Egyptians would do. And anyway, I don't need to go into the whole story, but it was an idea. It started with an idea. And I said to Jill, hey, we can move this building over here and put it on this foundation. And I suppose she said, what for? And I said, I don't know, just to have it, just so it's not sitting over here in this field getting ready to blow over, I suppose. And then years later, it really was years later, because we didn't start raising, we were on that farm for 7 years, and we didn't start raising pigs there until like a year after we were there. And then probably a year after that, or maybe even more, is when I actually butchered my first pig. You know, that was not my thing. I had not even shot a deer, right? I was like 35 years old. I had never shot a deer before. I had gone hunting, but I'd never actually shot one. So my point is, everything begins with an idea. And ideas are fragile. When me and Jill started kind of hanging around together, the reason why I asked her out for the second date is because she was willing to embark on an adventure, you know, and she didn't know exactly what it was, and I didn't either. But when we would get together and go and do things, it was always like exploring. It was always some sort of adventure, going and seeing something, whether even if it was a zoo, you know, faraway zoo, or a city, Calgary. We went to Calgary and went up in the, you know, it was like an adventure, doing things. And we had fun. And when the idea came up that, hey, this piece of property, it's an old farm. Do you want to live here? Because we were living in town and it sucked. That was no adventure. That sucked. And so we had told our realtor lady that we wanted to move. And she was like, well, you know, there's this, and then no. Then she told us about this little farm. And she said, it's kind of far away, and we went and looked at it, had a creek running through it. The house was okay. You could live in it right away. The barn was okay. Needed a roof, you know, needed stuff. And the idea was, hey, maybe we can do this. And it was an idea at first, and it was just a fragile idea. And I said, yeah, and we could do this, and we could do this. And she was like, yeah, and it's got a creek that we can go swimming in, and on and on and on. But it started with an idea. And there's many people here. I'm looking at this. I'm not saying much about the chat here because I'm on a roll. Stay with me. Welcome, everybody, by the way. I want to make this point. It's Open Line Friday, and we can talk about your stuff in a minute, but this has come up, and I think that this is so important to get this out in the open. These ideas that have come into, whether it was my idea or Jill's idea or one of the kids' idea, those ideas have turned into really neat things, and things that have affected a lot of people for the good. You know, you could have a bad idea too. Hey, I wonder if we could rob this bank, you know, and then in the course of robbing the bank, somebody gets hurt. Bad idea. Don't do that. But a good thing, like a farm, and you see the videos that Joe makes, and it says inspire, empower, and educate. Maybe not in that order. Inspire, educate, and empower, right? When you inspire somebody, you're inspiring what? Ideas. And empowering, you're giving them the tools to turn the idea into a reality. And then educate, also to help people with the tools you need to make those things happen. And those are all good things. Those are all good things. But we never talk too much about the tanglefoot, the things that the buzzkill, right? What are some of the other words, right, for those type of things? The bad attitudes. Who's that little guy on? Remember Gulliver's Travel, right? And his name was Glum, right? And he would say, somebody would have an idea, and he would say, "It'll never work." And who's the other one on Winnie the Pooh? Eeyore, right? The old Eeyore. We don't talk too much about that, but maybe we need to. Maybe we need to, because the Eeyores exist, and they can become part of our lives. And maybe we can't take them out to the back 40 and leave them there, but we have to have a strategy for the Eeyores, right? Because what do? They destroy a fragile idea. And a fragile idea can become something very good for everybody. It can. And let's say that, we have an idea to create this farm, and it's going to inspire and educate and empower, right? Hey, good idea. Let's say we pull it off. Now, what happens to the people who get inspired and educated and empowered? What happens to them? They go out into their world and they do the same thing. And the people that they affect do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. It's better than I think we can possibly imagine. I think what it does, honestly, it breaks the spell that they put us under. If you watch the news and you get involved with programming on TV and programming in radio and programming on any place, it's everywhere. I mean, they are everywhere. They are there to destroy those fragile ideas, sort of like nip it in the bud before these human beings start getting any ideas. Let's nip it in the bud, sort of like a prison camp, what they would do, nip it in the bud. And how do they do that? Lots of different ways. There's bread and circuses, that's really works. But there's also the Eeyores, right? And the Eeyores need to be addressed. The glums, the buzzkills, like, it'll never work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My partner just brought me this, and she's responsible for this coffee cup too, and is responsible for me sitting here, is responsible for, because I would have never done this by myself. I could have never done this by myself. My wife has been my partner all along. Now, I won't say that there's never been that's a dumb idea. That happens, that happens. It's probably more from my side than hers. But if there's a roadblock to creating something really good, and you identify it as a continual problem, it's time, and you are dead set that you're going to do something, like you're going to do it, and it's a good thing, and it's time to reprioritize. That's how you know it's time to look at this again. And here's an example. Here's a good example of something that hasn't happened. we went down to Texas. Just an idea, right? We followed up on it. Went to Sean Kelly's place. Totally inspirational what those guys are doing with, they don't have a lot of background with any of the stuff that they're doing. They just saying, I think we can do this. And they did it, good on them. But then I go see them. It's sort of like I don't have an objective view of what I've gotten done. I don't. But when I go to somebody else's farm, I say, wow, a lot of work went into this place. And then I come back here and I say, wow, a lot of work went into this place too. Wow, I did this. Whoa. I realize, hey, I can do things. And it's like, it can happen. And it's not like I have a magic wand. It's just small, incremental, positive things that we get done, like before dinner tonight. I went out and stacked 15 boards, and I still have about 30 to go, and they're up high, but I have to because I got to get them dried. I don't want them to warp. Why? Because of this right here, this classroom idea. I hope I'm making sense. Everything starts with an idea. And the ideas, your ideas, they have to be nurtured and they have to be protected. And if there's something or somebody that wants to smash those ideas, maybe it's time to take another look, because we do have those people around us. And I don't think you just want to kick everybody out of your life. It's a touchy thing. Actually, maybe it's better to not kick them out, but just say, well, I'm not going to let that that attitude or that statement or that action, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to continue. It's another one of the roadblocks that's in the way, like stacking wood. I got some people don't believe in gravity, but I got gravity that is making it hard for me to stack this wood up on way up high. When I was down low, it was easy. But now that I'm up high, each board is like a lot of work. So, but you overcome it. And when everything is said and done, and let's see this is built, it all started with an idea. And there was little incremental things that I had to do along the way. Just like I have to get wood. So, okay, I hook the trailer up. I drive down to the bunk of wood. I break it home. Okay, the trailer's tied up. I got to get it off there. There's only one way to do that. I suppose if I had a warehouse with a forklift in it, but I don't. So I had to take it off by hand. And my boys helped me. And we don't have enough room to stack this all under roof at this point. So we're going to have to build something that we can make two independent stacks, one above the other, that will hold, that weight. It's quite heavy. It's probably a ton. And how do we do that? So you guys got to put your nose to the grindstone and figure out how to build that. And mostly it's from my memory banks of what I've seen other people do. So anyway, but every time you do something, you accomplish something, it ratchets up. You get a little closer, a little closer, a little closer. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the tribe page is so important, because you do something, you put together Justin put together a cooler using, I forget what they call that thing that something bought, and he puts it together. I don't think he done it before, but he put it together, and now he's got it. And the final step was he takes pictures of it and shares it with us. And that is not meant to make us envious of him. That's a gross thing, envy. Let's not do that. It's an effort to share that, hey, this can be done. I know how to do this now. See, here's the pictures. Does anybody else want to know how to do it? Call me. And okay, I'm just using Justin because I think I saw him on here. Justin's one of those guys. You call him and ask him a question. Chances are he knows. Chances are, because he knows a lot of stuff, and that's good. We got Copperhead with us on here tonight. Those guys know stuff. They know stuff. Abundant Living's with us. Let's see who's with us. Anybody that's going to be on here, Bryce Mosher, Barn Geek, all right, the Ghost, the Cleric, these are all trigger pullers here. Keith, Justin, they're all trigger pullers, right? They all know stuff. And that's why it is important for you guys to share that stuff on the tribe page with the pictures and all. It's very important. And it's not so, hey, look, it's not for the purposes of look what I did. It is in the spirit of to inspire other people. Hey, he did it. If he can do it, I can. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's because we are all in this together. But if there is somebody that does not want to go, let them do what they want to do, but don't let them stop you. You have to press on. And I know that's kind of an ugly subject, but I've encountered that. One of the things that I encountered when I started this, and this springs out of the industrial food complex, in my opinion. That's where it comes from. Because the nearest I can surmise is the farms around here that were all small farms like mine, they were all friends. Their kids played together and da-da-da-da-da. But then the co-ops came in. So everybody was selling their milk to the same outfit. And the co-ops started to say, okay, well, this is what we're going to give you for the milk this day. You know, you don't get to tell us what your milk is worth. We tell you what your milk is worth. And the farms were like, well, that's okay so long as they're paying us enough to make. Oh, yeah, we'll pay you enough, but only for a while, and then we won't. And so the quality of life started going downhill. The farms and the farm families seem to have turned on each other. And there's not a lot of friendship amongst these guys. But for us, there needs to be sharing. There needs to be, well, sharing. That's the big thing. There needs to be sharing. Skills, that's huge. And it's not hard to share skills. There needs to be sharing of hardships too. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, we a lot of us are military on here, and we understand that, you know, when you have tough things happen, real tough things happen. And that's across the board. I mean, in the business that I was in, we lost airplanes with crews on them, and they were our officers. We loved them. And when we lose them and we lose losing a plane is one thing, but losing people is very hard on a base. It's very hard on people, right? And but we were there for each other. We were there together. The base that I was at, that I have already returned to 25 years later, was Loring. And the only difference between that base, the first base I was at, the second base I was at, the third base, and the fourth base that I was at, the only difference between that is at Loring, we lost an airplane. We actually lost two. We did not lose in one of the crashes. We lost a crew, but it was from a different base, and so that airplane never came back from the Gulf War. And it was kind of like, well, we got a replacement airplane. It was not such a big deal. Never liked that one anyway. But the crew, that was tough. But the plane that we lost from our base, we lost the crew too. And I think I've told you that story. The man that was the aircraft commander was actually somebody that I in-processed the base with. And I was a junior enlisted person, and this guy was a senior for a base. At wing level, he was a lieutenant colonel. And he sat right next to me in this briefing room when there's like 30 people in processing the base at a time, a given week, or maybe every 2 weeks, I think they would have that. And he sat right next to me, and he sat there just to kind of comfort me and calm me down because I was not comfortable and not calm, right? It was my second base. I was an E4, and it was, it was tense. And he was actually killed in that aircraft incident, explosion, crash. He was killed in that. So I've gone back to that base, and I think I go back there because of that incident. And I want to go back again. I want to go back really badly. Sometimes when I'm falling asleep at night, I will think about my last trip there, and I'll think about coming through the gate and going down what used to be called Loring Drive, Loring Air Force Base. But it's not called that anymore. It was named for that aircraft commander. So anyway, yeah. So this is part of what we want to bring to this thing that we're doing, this lifestyle that we're doing. So there you go. That's my input. Okay, tonight it's Open Line Friday, so this is when we get to talk about your guys' stuff. All right, we got the Lone Star with us. Right on. We get to talk about your guys' stuff, whatever you guys want to talk about. I think we had a really productive week. We did a lot of conversation about biochar. I think it's a tremendous facet of the homestead operation. I would encourage anybody that gets interested in it and wants to do it, do it. It's a money maker for the farm. I don't know if you were here the other night, Lone. The kids biochar a cow's head. Yep. That is completely biocharred. Totally hollow. It's light, right? You know how boys will be. So I think people should get into that if they take a notion to it. And please let us know if we can help you with it, because we'd love to. But tonight we're going to talk about the things that you guys want to talk about. And so if you take a moment and add something in here, then I will expound on it. Okay, who's with us? Keith is with us. Justin Z. Justin Z gave me some good information today about school buses and the way we're going to proceed. I might as well pass that on, Justin. That was good stuff. I didn't think about it that way. And also with this project right here, which, by the way, what I did today, going and getting that bunk of 2x4s, that is for this project, by the way. And the bunk of 1x6s and 1x8s that I got, and I'm getting a bunk of 2x6s, 12 footers next week. And that is like almost step one that we have to accomplish, a floor that we have to put in that was rotted and was torn out shortly after we moved to the farm. So we have to reaccomplish that. So we have a floor that we can work on to tear the roof off of this section of the barn so that we can rebuild the roof and put dormers in. And then from there, we're gonna work down to the kitchen, and then we're gonna work west to the lecture hall, right? So, I mean, there's steps along the way. And again, I'm telling you, I made a video because I went in there and I looked at it. We're doing these classes and we're out of space. We're having to limit the size of the classes only because we don't have the space. We're using the house for meals. Our butcher shop is a butcher shop. It's not a lecture hall. You don't need that much space when you build a butcher shop. So we needed space, and I started to contemplate putting in a pole barn and insulating it and concrete floor and a heating system and possibly a couple bedrooms in it. I would love to do that, but it's just it puts us way out, and then we have to get that all paid back. And I wasn't sure if I could do that. And it's an idea, and I would mention that idea to my partner, and my partner would be, because you're way in. You're going to go in $75,000 or $100,000. You got to pay that back, and if you don't pay it back and you croak, then you give it to your kids. And I'm not willing to do that. So we looked at the barn basement that was just junk anyway, and we thought, hey, we could turn that into the space that we need, and then it would be usable. The price tag on it wouldn't be close. We can do it ourselves, and we can make it happen. So it was an idea. And when I mentioned it to Jill, she was like, I like that idea better than borrowing $100,000 and building a. And so I made a video and I said, can you see it? I remember making the video. Can you see this? That's going to be a classroom down there. This is going to be a kitchen. There will be an apartment above. Can you see it? And I had Parker Holmes said, I want to help. And I said, okay, let's do it. And he comes over with a jackhammer. And we jackhammered out all the concrete in the basement, which was put in, I don't know, 1910 or so, when they built the barn. They built it for milk and cows. And it was just an idea, but now all the concrete is out of the basement of the barn. And we're making room to pour the new floor. And so it's just an idea. And it brought Parker, and he says, I want to help. And so we got her done. So we're closer, and we're going to get closer even sooner. And then what has happened? You kind of have an idea and you put it out there to the universe, right? I don't want to sound too Janine on you, but you put it out there like, hey, this would be a good thing. And then this guy says, I'll help you. And he came and helped me, and we got a lot done. And then there was another guy that was in between jobs and he needed to work. And so I hired him for, a couple of weeks, and he helped me. We tore a bunch of stuff out. And then my son Joe came back to work with us, and he has made boom, 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 leaps and bounds, And so where is this all going? That's the question. Where is this all going? There may come a time where we say, okay, well, even this isn't big enough. We're going to need a pole building, for a well-lit classroom and lecture hall or something like that. Who knows? I'm game for anything, as long as it's legal and doesn't involve flamethrowers or human sacrifice. I'm staying away from both those. And polygamy. Gotta stay away from those. Okay, the cleric's with us, right on. The ghost is with us, and the ghost has got something. That's the way to do it. Increase, not income. Yeah, the way of the world is, well, as soon as I get this money, then I'll do this. But our way has got to be different. It's like, no, I'm going to do this, and money will follow. Like the butcher shop, when we started working down there, this is true. This is very true. When we started working down there, we discovered an old foundation where the butcher shop is right now. There it was. It had a foot of leaves on it. And when we started digging in there, oh, this foundation is not in too bad a shape. It was actually not cracked, and it had a back wall, right? So our lawn off the back of the house was, right into that back wall, and then the front wall was very small, and it was covered with everything, junk wood and rocks and pipes and old machinery and stuff. It was a mess. Broken glass everywhere. This place was in really poor condition. And when we get that all cleared away, hey, there's a foundation here. So on that foundation, I didn't know what we were going to do with it, but we were butchering chickens there one day, and I'll tell you how that happened. We were at the Amish store up here, and we ran into a guy, and he said, the guy across the road here has a chicken plucker. And I was like, a chicken plucker? They make a machine that will pluck chickens? And all I could think of was these mechanical hands going in there and pulling feathers off. And I said, I got to see this. So we went over there, and he says, yeah, I got a chicken plucker. He says, it's for sale. We're not going to be using it. Amish guy. Didn't have a motor on it. He had it hooked up to they have these things called David Bradleys, and they have a motor on it with a pulley, and then they run wash machines with them and all kinds of stuff. They run all kinds of stuff with them. So he was using that on it, but so I bought it off of him, brought it home. I put an electric motor on it that I scrounged from someplace, and lo and behold, the dumb thing worked. And we moved it down onto this foundation, and there was an old freezer there that we used as a tabletop. I mean, it was one of those really dangerous freezers. It was the kind that when you closed it, it would lock, right? The worst kind. And you could only open it from the inside. It was one of them really dangerous ones. Kids get in it. Hey, look at me. And then the thing slams in there. They suffocate in there. It's gone. It was a really heavy one. And yeah. But anyway, I destroyed it after we got done using it. At the beginning, I took a pry bar and I wrenched the locking mechanism off of that so the kids couldn't do that. I was working off farm at the time, and I did not want that to happen. So. And I shot some bullet holes through it too, just in case we needed some holes if it was too heavy for a kid to go. I think that's what I did. But anyway, that's where we were working. And the veterinarian pulled in and said, you guys butcher chickens? And I said, yeah, I guess we do. And she said, would you butcher the youth show's chickens? And I said, okay, I guess. And so we did. And the first year, I think the count was near 1,000 chickens that we did. And back then we were charging $2.75 a bird. And then, so we immediately were finding out that if you want to stay busy, there are things to do. It might not be pleasant, but you can stay busy. And then we learned a lot about business just through butchering chickens. And now it's a full-blown business. We operate 2 or 3 days a week, but there was no shop there. There was no butcher shop. And first I said, well, we got to do something to get out of the rain here. So we put poles up and put a roof on. And then it got to be fall and it was cold. And so then we put sides on. And, it just went from there. And then we've added a whole wing onto it. We added an office on. We added a cooler on it. So there's no like, hey, once I get a whole bunch of money, then I'll build a homestead. I still don't have any money. I really don't. I have about as much saved now as I did then. We just keep using it. I sold 4 pigs yesterday for $150 a piece, $600 in my pocket, dropped 2 of it on those 2 new pigs that I got today. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. It's no secret. And then $300 on that bunk of 2x4s that I just bought. And then when I sell these two that I bought off Bob, I'll increase by 100, so I'll be back to 300 again. And then I'll buy the 2x6s next week for the floor. And once we start the floor, I have the boards that I can start putting the floor in. Once the floor's in, we can demo the roof, So it comes when I need it. And yeah, you're right. You're just so right. That's the way to do it. Increase, not income. Because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to come on and say, hey, guys, guess what? I got $50,000 in the bank. I mean, I don't think I'd be really that thrilled about that. This is more along the lines of teach a man to fish. This really is a mission, right? It's not give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. So lots of ideas. And, the work camping that's going to happen here, I've mentioned this, the work camp program is happening. It is happening. I am going to build several pads next door that people can pull their school buses on, or their fifth wheels on, or if they want to sleep in a tent or whatever, they'll be able to camp here and then throw down for 6 hours a day, immersed in this homestead, working with the people who work here. So you get to stay, and your payment is 6 hours of work per day, and then maybe we'll have a campfire at night. There might be a few extras maybe. All right, so what are we talking about tonight? The Barn Geek is with us. Right on. I got those plans today, by the way. And guess what? As I was down there, I said, I got my plans today from Erin, or at least I got them. So Jill does the internet and she prints that stuff. I don't know how to do that. And so they wound up on my place today. And he said, well, I did get some logs. You don't mind if they're blue stained, do you? I said, no, I don't. So I'm going to pass those to him next week, and hopefully we'll be able to put together a timeline to start putting this baby together. In the meantime, we moved a refrigerator down to the side of the shop for our milk customers, right? All right. The Lone Star is with us. Oh, Keith's got a question. How many rabbits do you have? I'd say we have less than 10 right now. And we're getting ready to crank that baby up too. I'm going to be making battery cages that are on skids that we can have outside with their own individual roof, right? And they are going to be no more than 4 or 5 feet wide, so that if we want to dedicate one of the rows in the garden, we can just come down that row with the rabbits. So they'll be out there. And the reason why I want to do that is because when we weed, if the rabbits are there, then we will feed the weeds to the rabbits. And it just makes it all easier. And then the rabbits will digest it, manure back, and release the energy from those weeds, which I think we might be on to something, because those weeds grew there. That's their place. If we can get the rabbits to release the energy right in that space, I think we might be on to something. It's just a theory. Just an idea. Okay. An old George Gordon saying, increase over income. Income is a government scheme. Increase is God's and nature's way. and it's not taxable. So therefore, we could assume, yeah. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and their thought process of me was that I hate government. And I had to straighten them out. And I say, no, I don't hate government. I hate, and hate's a strong word, hate's a strong word. I dislike and I disapprove of corrupt government and corrupt human beings. I disapprove of that. I wouldn't say I hate it. Hate's a strong word. I always tell my kids that. I totally disapprove of that. I also hate barking dogs, right? I mean, disapprove of barking dogs. A barking dog in the neighborhood can really disrupt a nice picnic or just the peace and quiet, but I don't blame the dog. I blame the owners of the dog that will allow that to go on constantly. And it's sort of like that with government. You can't blame them. I mean, corruption is just a natural thing that they're going to move towards. You really have to blame me. I mean, I've allowed them to go that direction. And I've allowed them to go that direction because of taxation. I do things that they can get their grubby little hooks on very easily. Like if I work 40 hours, they get theirs before I get mine. They step right in and say, well, we want this. A buddy of mine has an auto shop in Cadillac, right? And he recently did a kind of a reshuffle here. So the guy that actually owned the facility sold it to him. And so now he took that guy's name off the facility and he put his name on it. And this is John Spears, which I've done business with. And I highly recommend that if you need a vehicle, head into Cadillac and see Johnny Spears. Tell him I sent you. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I like to do business with good guys. But he had to shut down his maintenance facility until he got a license from the state of Michigan to do automotive maintenance in town. And I thought, I'm going to ask him. I'll see him next week. What the hell did you pay for that? But what do you get for that? I mean, the state of Michigan and counties do it too, and townships would do it if they could. Maybe some of them do. Yeah, they do. They tell you, if you want to do this, you have to pay us money to do it. And if you say, okay, well, I will pay you money to do it, but what do I get for that? They're going to say nothing, just permission. So I'm paying for permission, really. Yeah. What if I don't? That should be the next question. What if I don't get permission for you? What are you going to do? And you don't have to ask them to their face. You can just research it. So that really bothers me. It really does. That they had to shut their maintenance down for about a month. And so John's still got to pay these guys and all that stuff until the state gives him permission to turn wrenches on cars. Permission. That is exasperating. That is irritating. Really irritating. And so I suppose if I go to my senator and say, I want you to do something about this. Now, why would he? Why would he? Well, he would because he wants to make you happy, Mark. He works for you, so he's going to do that. Oh, does he? Because if he makes me happy, he's going to make somebody else very unhappy. And who's he going to make unhappy? The parasites at the state government. The parasites. They're parasites. Like a mosquito. They suck your blood. That's what they are. parasites. So what Ghost is saying here is so true. We have fallen into their system where we're willing to go to town and work because, hey, I can get $22 an hour to work. Oh, really? How much of that does the state government get before you get your paycheck? So what are you really getting? You know, and they take it before you get it. So it's not like you have to part it off and then give it to them. Oh, but who would pay for the roads? Well, what's this tax that we pay on gasoline too? What does that pay for? And what's the, one thing after another. And yeah, I hate that. I dislike that, disapprove of it. How's it gotten that way? Because we've allowed it. We haven't done things like what George Gordon is saying here is do things that are not taxable, because then you don't enable them to turn that on you, right? When I went through the thing with the state, they were using my own money against me, right? And then I needed a lawyer. I had to pay for it. They weren't going to pay for it. So I was paying for my lawyer and their lawyer. And they piled on 3 or 4 of them on me. And I could only afford one that was. And when you buy a lawyer and you can only pay so much, the government can pay that lawyer more or put pressure on that lawyer that, you're going to need us later. You better not help this guy. And that's how they do it. But that's corrupt people. That's not government itself. Those are corrupt individuals. And they need to be called out by name. And like a parasite, they need to be swatted. like a skeeter. Like, go away, mosquito. Generally not taxable. Inga, there are so many riches without money. You got that right. Matter of fact, if you base all your riches on money, I have seen where that is counterproductive. I've seen people, like I knew a guy, and I suppose I still know him. I just haven't talked to him in a while. And when we first got into the pigs, there was a big write-up about the pig, and it was the Kobe beef or the Kobe of pork. And so he had to have them, and he was very wealthy. And he actually had Kobe beef that he raised. And so he came to see me about that. I got to be kind of friends with him to a point. But then because he had so much money, he had something that he needed to, there was like a third party, it seemed like. And it was really awkward, but it was not only awkward for him and me, it was for his family members too, because he always thought people trying to steal his money where nobody really gave a damn about his money. But anyway, you can still grow and prosper on the barter system. You sure can. Inga, I think that you need to come up here for Tribe Day. And when you do, I don't want you here because you're a rich woman. And I don't know, you might be, I don't know. I have no idea. I want you here because I want to talk to you. That's it. And there's value there. It's fun, right? I got to put my glasses on here. In Canada, gifts aren't taxable either. So, yeah, okay, everything's a gift. You're creating a new world where everyone helps everyone, hands and feet, just like the Bible says. No, only period. No, period, only needed. No money needed. Fat finger typing, okay. Keith, is this a threat? He's saying I know a rougher. Are you threatening to have me roughed up? Oh, roofer. Hey, that's right. That's right. I think James probably needs some beef. I got his number. That's right. Oh, if he helped us, man. Because what we're going to be shooting in the dark a lot on a lot of this. We've not done some of this. That's right. I'm going to bring his phone. Thank you. Vindicti's saying you would like to see my rabbit setup, thinking of getting meat rabbits. I don't think you can go wrong. Meat rabbits are some of the best conversion of. I've read that they are the best conversion of carbohydrates to proteins on the farm. But then I also read that no, fish are better. But I don't know how you're going to get the carbohydrates processed in such a way that the fish can eat them. I'm not sure how that's done. I just don't know enough about it. But like with rabbits, we've done rabbits long enough to know that you can walk around and you can strip a bunch of leaves off of a sapling and throw them in and gone. So feeding rabbits it's all around us. It is literally all around us. Rabbit tractors, but see, rabbits are diggers. Ooh, they're diggers. That is a slight problem. We've had rabbits take off on us. Okay, does anyone else think that the dollar is going to collapse? I don't know what you mean by collapse. I mean, I don't think that gasoline is more scarce right now. That's why it's $4.25 at the pump, as opposed to, a year and a half ago when it was. I got it delivered here for $1.14. I don't think it's scarce. I think it's just that our dollar is less valuable. So could that be? Is this inflation? Is this what inflation looks like? Real inflation? Well, I'll tell you this. Jill is she handles the books on things. And in order for us to run the chicken processing business this year, the price of propane it's insane what we're paying a gallon now compared to this time last year. And we need propane as our fuel to run the scalder. Electricity is insane. That is absolute insanity what they want per kilowatt hour now. Right? And they're just doing it. What did their prices go? I suppose their fuel went up, So now we have to charge more to process a chicken. Chicken feed is up, way up. So the people in my community that come to me for their chicken processing needs are going to be paying 75 cents more per bird on top of their feed going up, their fuel in their car going up. They're not getting, price at the pump is up, so we better pay you more money over here at this factory where you're working at. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So people are going to be hurting, right? People are going to be hurt. Well, they already are, but actually had this conversation with this Amish woman today about this, about the state of affairs in the United States. Their business is booming on their farm because people coming on farm to buy stuff, buy their wood, buy their greenhouse stuff, buy their honey, buy their maple syrup, baked goods, cut flowers, right? Their business is booming, like our business is. And when I look at American society, they're overfed, lazy, underskilled. Yeah, I see a lot of that. And this hard time that we're going to be going through is actually a good thing. And can I back that up? Absolutely. My children are in austerity measures all the time. Like austerity measures would be something like this, and this might sound like kind of mean, but my kids get paid a minimal amount. Why? Because I'm clothing them, I'm housing them, and I'm feeding them. Plus, they're little kids; they don't need money. I don't need to pay them $10 an hour. What would they do with it? It would put them in a place where they have all this money. It would accumulate fast, and then they go and they say, "Oh, a mini bike for $349. I can pay for that." And it puts them in a place where it's not a good place. I keep them in austerity, right? Uh, the wood that we are buying right now, we stack it up in the shop. All the tools are in there. If they want to use it, they can. But you got to pay for it. I just paid for this wood and hauled it home. If you want to make something with it, sure, but pay per board. And I'm charging them just what I have into it. So they will, they'll respect it. They won't just cut a board and wrong one, so just pull another one down off the pile and cut another one. No, you don't want that. You want them paying for it. And I'm adamant about they're going to pay for it. Same thing with fuel. If the kids want fuel, they got to pay for it, right? Because they're getting paid. They want to run their motorcycles and their snowmobiles. They've paid for those too. I don't buy those for them. Kids that their parents buy them everything that they want, and then nothing that they have they even care about anymore. They let it sit out and get rusty, and then. So, a lot of activity going on out there. So, austerity measures are actually good for us as a society, and we will prosper because of it. Okay, here's a good one from Vindicti. There is a faction of the elites trying to collapse the dollar, but it's facing strong resistance. More likely, it will slowly lose reserve status rather than have an abrupt collapse, though. I guess time will tell on that. I don't know about the reserve status. I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe you've got an inside track on that. But I do believe that, okay, the monetary system in the United States is not good. Let's say it got really good. Would I say, whoa, the heck with this homestead? I'm just going to go get a job in town. I'm just going to accumulate money and let money do everything for me. No, I've learned my lesson, because that can change. That is, you become a cork on the ocean when you go that route. When you go this route, you have some more control. Total control? No, nobody has total control. I mean, you can still get hit by a bolt of lightning no matter what you're doing. But as far as lifestyle and quality of life and intentionality, no, this is the way to go. For people like us, it is. For others, no, the programming is too deep. It is just too deep. And man, people are struggling right now. Well, 2 weeks ago, was it 19 days ago, I guess, or 20 days ago, COVID-19, it was still this. Here's the death count on TV. You might need to put 4 masks on, and the 3rd booster's available even for little kids, and da-da-da-da-da. I talked to my sister on the phone, and she's like, I'm looking for the 4th. I want it. That programming was so powerful in her that that 4th booster was the only thing that was going to keep her alive. However, it disappeared as soon as Russia happened again. Now it's disappeared, and the mandates all over the place are just melting. And the poor people are like, "Hey, wait a minute! Aren't we still dying of COVID-19? I mean, I thought we were on board with COVID-19. And now they're feeling like, well, you mean those people who never wore the mask and refused to get shot, they're not going to get in trouble? They're not going to die? I thought they were going to die. And now they're feeling like, wow, did we get bent over the barrel? And I think we're going to have to be a little graceful. And it's like, well, yeah, you did get bent over the barrel, but there's no sense in us not being friends. We can be friends. I don't know. We're going to have to be pretty graceful. Legal tender might collapse, money can't. That's true, I believe. Legal tender is the, like the Boliviano or like the peso or the dollar. But money is a medium that has value that can be traded for something else that has value. I believe that's what the ghost is saying there. I put up a photograph on my Facebook page, and it was like to kind of educate a little bit. And I said it was a picture of a whole bunch of sausages that Jill had made, and she was standing there smiling. And I said, now that's real value, right? And so I think some people got it. A pile of money sitting there on the table. I don't know. Aaron, government is an environment that attracts like a monocrop attracts pests. Wow, good analogy. Super analogy. It attracts. I don't. Attracts corruption. No, it attracts parasites. And parasites, that's their MO, is corruption. That's just their tool, is corruption. How can we pay somebody off? How can we blackmail somebody? How can we steal from somebody? Because after all, like even our little parasitic food inspectors that live in our neighborhood, the money that they get paid to live in the house that they live in and proceed the way that they do, where does that money come from? They are not generating anything. That money is taken from the taxpayers. And they would say, well, we pay taxes too. Yeah, okay. Well, gold and silver is recognized as legal tender in some states. Article 10 of the Constitution leaves it open to all states. That's interesting. I don't know about Article 10, but I've heard it mentioned quite a bit. Years back, I read that legally we can only pay our government with gold and silver. Loan. The current administration needs $3.3 trillion in taxes to pay for their agenda. Where and who are they going to get it from? That's a good question. Current administration. That's funny. That guy is so bad. He is so bad. I've heard theories that make more sense to me than he's just a bumbling old guy. The theories are that he's actually an asset of the White Hats, and what he is doing is actually an act. Because it seems too crazy, the stuff that he says. Like I heard him say the other day, he says, how have we ever got to this point where we have Putin invading Russia? And I mean, that should have been wall-to-wall coverage of that. It was funny as anything. I do not think that our children are ever going to be able to retire unless they work for government. My thoughts on that are, I don't think that the way that we're proceeding is sustainable. I don't believe that it is. You cannot take more from the people than they're taking right now. And I don't know. I think maybe if it heads for that concrete wall where it's heading right now, I believe that there are powers in place, the good guys that are going to say, no, we've got to do something here before this smashes into the wall. Because if we have a clash between these two groups, right, it's not It's not the groups of the Republicans and the Democrats. It's not. It's the a lot of the elites are tied to government, but you have of extremely swelled government right now, and all of the departments, the Department of Energy. Everybody has ever seen the numbers on the Department of Energy, their budget? It is insanity. And you think Department of Energy? I think I've heard of them, but if I needed something, what do they do? But their budget is insane. And can this continue? Just think if you kept 100% of what you produced. Just think. What you could do with it instead of government taking that money, and all they do is give it to themselves and then waste it. That's all they do. They never say, well, we took this money from these people. They at least deserve to have some facilities and stuff. Anytime they build something, it's always agenda driven. They're going to get it from us. They can confiscate all of our homes if they want to. Hey, knock that off. Knock that off. That is a bummer. That is a bummer there. Don't be doing that. Okay. Recommendations: harvesting a small pig feeder. He is probably 80, 90 pounds. Need to take care of him before he gets one of his sisters. He had one testicle that never descended, so I never castrated him. And harvesting. Recommend for harvesting. Could you, if he's 80, 90 pounds, do you think that you can restrain him and castrate him now? That's an option. A non-descended testicle is not something that I have seen very much in the Mangalitsa or ever. But, mistakes happen, and I sold feeders to James years ago, and one of them wound up to be a boar. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but it did. And then maybe that was the one that was supposed to go out to Wisconsin that I had to just go out there and make right a couple of weeks ago. It happens. Mistakes happen. Now, I sell a pig. We turn him over. Okay. Balls or no balls. Feel, And you can knock them off and eat them for sure. And 80, 90 pounds will be a good experience probably. Once he starts breeding, though, he's going to stink. So you won't want to do that. But I think you better do it. What? LOL, I'm far from a rich woman. Here you're telling me that there's more to this world than money. And, I'm not sure about Tribe Day. I'm not sure if I can physically handle it. I'm not asking you to jog up here. You don't have to do anything. You can just stand around. Like when we were down at Hidden Creek. You handled that fine. It's pretty much the same. All right. Okay, Vindicti, this one. I don't think this is real monetary inflation. It's mostly supply chain disruption, inflation expectation, and underinvestment in energy for past decades, which leads to skyrocketing prices. All right, well, you're almost putting it out there like a theory, and that, okay. But I don't see how it could, the price of fuel could be at a place where people can actually get ahead. And now it's to the place where it's choking them, where some people are like, hey, I can't even really afford to go to work. It's like putting your kids in daycare, and you go to work just so you can put your kids in daycare. Okay, Coastal, this is good. Last year, half ton of feed for pigs was $300. January this year, $330. February, $380. March, $430. Yeah. Yeah. There's no way to look at that like a good thing. You just can't see that as a good thing. Okay. Russia, Ukraine is a big play around shifting off dollar. Russia will soon sell scarce commodities in something other than US dollars. Saudi considering selling oil to China in yuan. They're pushing CBDC now. All right. I listened to something this morning that Debbie sent me, and it was a doctor that knows quite a bit about the characteristics of. You'd have to listen to it just to see if you gut check with the guy, but he seems to know a lot about weapons grade laboratories and bioweaponry and things like that. And he was saying that what's going on in Ukraine right now is a lot of the bioweapons labs are being exterminated. And I mean, at first when I heard it, I thought, okay, so Putin's a good guy. And well, he's sending his military in. Why? Because those weapons laboratories are threatening his country. And he doesn't want them on his border. So, and probably it's a good opportunity to take care of that while you can. It's like we're like that in the United States. We don't want Saudi Arabia to have nuclear, or we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, but we have them all day long. And, we'll do everything that we can to prevent them from getting nuclear weapons. And if they ever start getting close, we'll disrupt that. And they'll have to start over again. That's the way we roll. But then when another country like Russia invades Ukraine just to knock out their weapons laboratories, like the bioweapons are horrible. It's like if you can create something. I think that they did create something with COVID. There was something. But there was a psychological aspect to it too, where the deep state owned the mainstream media. So they were able to convince people that, hey, this is a really bad thing. I saw this one idiot today still walking around with a stupid mask on. What an idiot. I can't even look in his direction. I just thought, what an idiot. Okay, Aaron's saying, if you can make it or grow it, you don't need to buy it. Your wealth is in your skills, knowledge, and cannot be stolen. That is it right there. That is it. Vindicti, it's a pressure release valve. We were at our limits with COVID, so they are letting off, but the pressure will return soon. Hence all the bioweapon talk with Ukraine. You might be wrong about that. You might be right, but I don't think so, because I don't think they could do COVID again. I don't. I mean, they blew their wad on that one. A good majority of the public was calling BS from the beginning on that. It was just the feeble-minded ones that went with it. And even the feeble-minded ones are saying, gee, I don't know if I'd do that again. They're actually having real problems with the news agencies because they feel like they've been betrayed. People looked to the Rachel Maddows and the Anderson Poopers for information as if it was true. And now they're like, wait a minute, you guys lied to us? So in their communities too, in the weak-minded communities, they talk. I mean, weak-minded people like to talk to other weak-minded. They enjoy each other's company, and they are realizing that they've been had. And you mean those guys that were not riding around in their car with a face mask on? You mean they were right? Oh boy, that's terrible. So they're going to be serious butthurt. I'm saying you could be right, but I tend to think that they're never going to get away with that again. If they're going to do a COVID-19 again, there's going to have to be bodies in the street. You will have to see them. There will have to be a serious pandemic, not just Anderson Cooper or Lemonhead saying we're in a pandemic. We're not in a pandemic because they say it. There has to be a body count, and there wasn't. Even the dumbest people could see there wasn't a body count. We had protocol that was killing people in hospitals, but that's nothing new, I'm here to tell you. Jill, I will make my decision once it gets close to Tribe Day. I can ride with Lee and Crystal. The problem is I tire easily, and then I start running into issues. We'll see how I'm feeling by Tribe Day. Oh, okay, I get it. Maybe we'll just have to have like a camper ready for you. Like as soon as you get like done, then you just go to the camper and you're done for the day and go to bed. The ghost is agreeing with Barn Geek, and I agree too. And the word is increase. And I think increase is what? That's fortify your position, make things better. You know, nobody can tax you for filling a sandbag. And I'm saying that kind of in quotations. Filling a sandbag is stacking one more board, you know, bringing in some more firewood, you know, chopping wood and hauling water, as Kira Wadman likes to say. Oh, I see what you're saying, James. If I was going to do a 80, 90 pounder, I would probably put the whole thing in the barbecue and then just pull all the meat off. And then, you know what you do? You get if you have a pretty good sized barbecue, you could probably do it in quarters, and then you can pull all that meat off and put it in those tinfoil pans, and then freeze portions of it, you know, for your family. There's one way to do it. But I don't think a pig that big, you would have like little pork chops like that. I don't know as that would be too good. But yeah, you could probably save the loin. It would be like a tenderloin off a deer, probably. Be pretty small. Steak the whole things. Pigs that size are so tender. Yeah, okay, there's some good input. There is no exterminating bioweapons anymore. Once they are sequenced, they can be manufactured at any time in the future. Labs are only good for gaining new functions or attenuating pathogens. All right. Well, exterminating bioweapons anymore. Once they are sequences, they can be manufactured at any time in the future. So once they have the formula, they can. I don't know about that. And what do I know? You know, I have no background in that. Sounds like you do. But I don't think it's a bad strategy if we find out that in the Ukraine corrupt place, you've got bioweapons laboratories. We don't like that, right? Because you're going to use it. You know, you will use it. So we're not going to. It's sort of like if you have a really unruly child. I mean, just a really bad kid. And the kid says, "I'd like to have a 9mm pistol, if you don't mind." "Oh, sure." And you give him a 9mm pistol, and he takes it to school and shoots some people with it. Ukraine and the Ukrainians, they're really bad people. I mean, not all of them, but that's where that whole Khazarian mafia comes from. The place used to be called Khazaria, and they've done some really bad things. That's why the Biden administration has so many ties there. The Bidens and the Pelosi's and John Kerry's. They are destroying evidence, if anything. All right. Okay, I'm right to a degree. They won't increase the pressure again for a while until people have forgotten COVID a bit more. And they might actually do some bodies in the street next time, too. Okay. I mean, that's, I don't like that attitude, I got to tell you. And I don't think that's a good attitude, because you are almost saying they're going to do this and we're going to lose, I think you are correct maybe in assuming they have a plan, but you don't know all the plans that they have had that they have not gotten anywhere with. You don't know, because it doesn't become public knowledge. But there is a lot of things that the scumbags of this country, the parasite class, the deep state, I don't even really want to say mafioso, because they're bad, but they're really tough on each other, but they're kind of businessmen in a way. I grew up with those people. There is a semblance of honor amongst them, but like the dirtbags in state governments and federal governments, there's no honor there at all. They eat each other. There's just no teamwork. And they have wanted to get a lot of things done for a long time, and they've tried. And they do things like a 9/11. They did that. They'll do things like what was that town where they shot the whole school up and then they demolished the school? They'll pull an operation like that. I can't remember what it is now. But all of those deep state false flag things that they've pulled off, they do that. And they don't care if they kill their own, because they have very little regard for anything, very, very, sanity's not their strong suit, right? Type people. So I don't think that you should say that as though they've already pulled it off, because you give it power. You give the spell power that this is going to happen. This is going to happen. They're going to just take all of our property anyway. Why don't you just say, eventually they're going to take all of our weapons. Eventually. Watch a little bit of, I don't want to preach to you. I don't want to preach, but I'm not going to say, eventually they're going to have it anyway. Eventually they're going to confiscate my property. So, homesteading, forget it. The show, everything, all this, the gains we're making, forget it. Nah, they're just going to take it away from me anyway. Who's they? And how are they going to do that? And, don't forget that there's a lot of power in the positive people that have made this country work, and they're not going to give it up easy. They're just not going to give it up easy. You, am I? You're going to have to get past that. And there is this spiritual aspect too. Good usually prevails, and I believe that's because the creator of this entire thing is good. And overwhelmingly, I have 4 or 5 neighbors on this street, and I know that if I stopped at their house and I said, "I'm in a bad way right now, could I borrow your car? I need it right now." even though we don't get together and they don't know me personally, I know that they would, yeah, here you go. Here's the keys. Good people. Bad people, where are they? They're in the media. And I think that there are a lot fewer than we give them way too much credit. Way too much credit. But there are a lot fewer than we think. So that's me. I mean, my optimism comes from I've already won, right? And if I was going to be pessimistic, I'd say life sucks and then you die, you know. But I don't believe that. My life doesn't suck. Like I said, if I can get that 200, if I can make that contract for 200, I'll take it like right now. Okay, Aaron says, fortify your position, make biochar, wood gas, generate electricity, build a barn, grow a garden. There you go. It breaks the spell. You're gonna get. I'm not falling for that. We're screwed mentality. I'm not me. You know, you go through training, and I never went through it directly, right? Because I wasn't air crew, but it filters down, and you have instructors that have gone through this training, and they make it part of their training. They make it part of their attitude, and it is the prison camp mentality. Like, yeah, I'm in a prison camp. Yeah, there's a wall around here, but I may have these little places where I go, and they might be right here. It may be as soon as lights go out before I fall asleep. I'm here in my safe space. I'm here at my place I like to be. And the people who go crazy are the ones that I cannot find refuge in myself. I cannot find refuge. I have to be out of here to find refuge. And they're the ones that go crazy. But, you know, people actually work themselves into, when they're in prison for life, what they would consider after being in prison for, 65 years. Like, I got it pretty good. Yeah, I'm never getting out of here. It wasn't all that great on the outside. I got it pretty good in here. I know the cook. He gives me an extra bun on Tuesday. I can't wait till Tuesday, and finally got this cell next to a guy that I'm pretty friends with. And, things are good. I got it good. Get extra soap. And they become happy within their circumstance. So, like in the United States, we're always like, oh, this is the greatest country in the world. We're free people and all this stuff. But when you really start looking at it, you got to get permission to do everything. And it seems like there's somebody waiting to jump on you no matter where. And if it's not somebody, it's your own self, your fear that they initiate in you. You got to break out of that. I mean, there's so much freedom here. There actually is. And like, I guess when I was, never mind. I'm getting tired. Oh yeah, I'm getting tired. Okay, I got to finish these. It's going to be about deflecting away from the what now that the Pfizer documents are being dropped. I'm pretty sure that that's what this war is about. Yeah, that's not getting a lot of coverage, but that's the truth. And their stocks have dropped down to nothing, and those companies will probably be deep sixed. 100% sure the war is contrived, agreed upon by all parties. Oh man, is it not out in the open? And it's so dumb. It is not. I mean, obviously, you've got the media that's hyping people up to go out there and do dumb things. And if you're in a tank and somebody's approaching you and they've got a javelin, you're going to have to do something, So it appears there's things going on. But it's not what they're saying. Definitely not. You're going to believe the mainstream media now? I mean, really? Okay. I don't think they will win. I think they will do dirty things out of desperation. I hope I'm wrong about that, though. Don't mean to be negative. Yeah, that's okay. It offers perspective. and I get to counter you. This war goes back 100 years, and there are no good guys. Calling out their strategies. Yeah. Do you see how as soon as there's people have gotten trained and they have used Facebook as the main thing, Facebook and Twitter and all those things. Like as soon as it comes out, if you don't believe, if you don't carry the party line, shade your thumbnail with the colors of the Ukrainian flag and then put up these memes about what a great guy Zelensky is and what a stud he is and all this. If you don't do that, then you are somehow a puppet of Vladimir Putin, KBG agent, bad men, and they get everybody thinking the same way, and it's a strategy. And when you mock them, right? Which I mean, I shouldn't do this because I want to make a good impact on positive things, but I can't really help it by mocking them on Facebook. When you do that, that breaks the spell too, because then it's like, you're making fun of this. So, yeah, I am. Then it's like, your move. I'm making fun of it, and I'm making fun of you too. You're dumb by doing this, and I'm going to make fun of you. It's dumb. Like I said something. I said, I still put Russian dressing on my salad. Does that make me a racist? And then people knew what I was kidding about. But a lot of people, like on my feed, they're there for other reasons, and they don't know what to think of that. But I hope I put a little bit of a hyphen in their ideas about what's going on. David Wood, LOL, I will not go quietly into the night. David and Sherry saying hi. All right. Thank you. Okay, the ghost is saying it really doesn't negate from what I'm trying to say, though. The time of this event has unquestionable ties to election astrology, something that they use within their religion. Yeah, right on. What do you think about, well, I probably shouldn't bring that up. But there's a lot of talk, like in Jill's circle of people, about daylight savings time, what that is all about. It just makes no sense. And now the left is the one that's talking about we need to undo that. I'm kind of wondering why. But I just don't think their spells are working anymore, because through this whole time, their magicians in the mainstream media have just been decimated. Guido or Fredo, and I mean, people. I don't care what people say openly. People don't really like the thought of Don Lemon and some other guy, mugging up in bed. It's gross. And people don't like that, even though the pressure is on to say, oh, yes, the gay lifestyle. It's so nice. People really don't like it. And, you can say they can do what they want, but I don't want that guy that does that telling me. I think there's something fundamentally wrong with a man that passes by a woman, which all of us, find it very hard to pass by that form, right? It's very strong. It was built that way. It was made that way, so we propagate the species. But this guy steps over a woman and wants some other guy's hairy backside. There's something wrong with that. And it's not just it's just the lifestyle. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. And they know it. And you can see it when they project it. You can see it in them. They know it's wrong. But it's sort of like anything that I've ever done that was wrong. I knew it was wrong. It's not like I do it and then say, oh, gee, that was wrong. I know it's wrong before I do it. Inga's saying, I don't think any of us are saying we're doomed. We're saying they can cut our throats any way they want. We all have already decided how hard we'll fight to protect our hill. Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, when you say they can cut our throats anytime they want, that means that we're sort of like ants and they can step on us whenever they want. What happened in Dalton Township? What happened there? Tony Barnes is a prime example of a tyrant. If that guy had moved up the chain and moved up and moved up and finally became the president of the country, we would have a horrible mess. I mean, this is a guy, a township supervisor, that had people reporting to him at his office and pleading their case about what they wanted to do on their private property. And he would say, yes or no, depending on if they gave him free shots of whiskey and things like that. And what happened there? Just a little bit of exposure, and then the good people came out, and we're in 2020, or it was 2019, and they didn't stone him to death, but I think a lot of people wanted to, right? So I don't, the they that you refer to, what we're saying, you're saying we're doomed. We're saying they. How many of them are there, right? Who are they? And are you sure that they have that much authority? Like Tony Barnes, prior to the incident where he was ousted or where he was exposed for what he was, I talked to the son of a bitch on the phone, right? I know all about him, right? Prior to that, if he hadn't been ousted, he would still be terrorizing you all down there in that township, right? But it didn't take much, really, to get that turned around. It really didn't take much. It was just like a phone call, actually. It was just a phone call. And it put things in motion that once they're in motion, they could not stop them. And I believe that this same principle is in motion in this country. It's like, now we're coming for you. Now it's changed. We're not going to allow you to sneak up us anymore. We want to know where you live now. We're coming for you. You've abused us for 50 years. Now the tides have turned. We're coming for you. And I think that's true. I think if it, what happened with Tony Barnes was just an example, but it was peaceful. He was voted out, but we don't know what's happened since then. Has he completely self-destructed? I would reckon, he has. As above, so below, says the ghost. These are the same people that burn the effigy of a baby at the foot of a stone owl every year. I think this war was contrived after a Bohemian Grove party or Bilderberg meetup. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, not at all. Probably right. Dave Smith is with us. What I'm saying is evil people do evil things. They always have and always will. The way to fight this is to do good. Don't meet evil with evil. You're right. You are so right about that. Make the world around you a little more gooder. Hey, your English is off there, Aaron. It's make it a little more better. More better. More gooder. Or more good, yeah. I've heard a bit about the DST thing. Could be part of their systematic magic. Not sure really. There's part of BC that still don't change their time. Yeah, I don't know enough about that to go into it, but it just seems awful strange to me. Yeah, they wanted to. They want to. They have a plan, right? But that doesn't mean they're going to execute their plan. I mean, evil always it's always looming, right? But people stand up and they fight back. And I am really surprised how quickly evil runs, like the parasite class, how quickly they are not dedicated to their cause of whatever their cause is. And I've said this before, the Department of Agriculture isn't the Department of Agriculture. It's the Department of Anti-Agriculture. And when you go up against them, they back down in a hurry, because they're not dedicated to it. They're mercenary. They're just dedicated to their paycheck. They're really fighting the guy in the next cubicle, not really those of us that want to actually do agriculture. All right, I gotta get going. We're going on 2 hours. Wow, good. No more. Light, Barn Geek. Light is way more powerful than darkness. It may seem like they will win, but they can only dwell in darkness. Only a little light chases away the darkness. Yeah, that's true. If you this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. You light up darkness, and you know, okay, we've made mention of Dalton Township, and a lot of people don't know what happened there. I think you can research that if you cared, but it was a township run by a supervisor that had evil in his heart in every way, shape, and form. He really did. And he was a parasite, a parasite's parasite. And he used fear and intimidation with the people of the township. He had a circle around him that did the same thing, and they had a little thing going. And the spell was broken the night that they had a township meeting, and they were what the township people, or what the Dalton Township people were going to do, was intimidate people in this meeting to backing down from the incident that happened. And I won't go into that now. Not that I don't want to, I just don't have time. But when you had that many people show up into a room, just their presence there changed it. It had nothing to do with what they said. It just made the evil ones realize, wow, we're up against some real players here, and this isn't going to end anytime soon. So it weakened them terribly right then. And they did some things that night I thought that were really interesting, like the township building. Any other time in the summertime, it's a nice, cool place to be because they don't pay the electricity, so they have it cooled down really nice. But that night, they had all the windows open and they had the air conditioner shut off. The place was full of mosquitoes, and they figured that would keep people out. That was where they were in their heads. We'll fix these township people. We'll fix the town people. We'll scare them out with mosquitoes. And it didn't work, didn't even come close. It just made the people think, like, this is what you really are. And I don't think we have our hand on the pulse of what's going on everywhere in the country at the same time. We saw what happened in Dalton Township. I got to see what happened here in Missaukee County and certain other townships that we've been involved with. We get to see that, but we don't see it everywhere. And so therefore we think, well, maybe it's just an isolated incident, but I don't think it is. When you start seeing the mainstream media, shelling out the way it is right now, it's like they are losing influence. People don't listen to them. These people in positions of authority, supposed authority, you don't even hear them. When is the last time, I was thinking about this today, when's the last time you heard anything come out of that ugly pie hole belonging to Maxine Waters? When can you even remember the last time? It's a long time ago. Or any of the schmucks on that side, the real dirty, greasy, icky ones, you know? You just don't hear from them anymore. When's the last time you heard anything from Fauci? Long time. I mean, it's like he's gone. And the only thing that you hear coming out of the VP and the P is just foolishness, you know? People have totally lost confidence in their government. And so when they lose confidence in them, they take their power from them. They have no, you know, if Biden says, well, that's it, we're going to war with Russia, people are going to be like, no, we ain't. Not with you at the helm, buddy. We're not going. And we don't want to get into it with Russia or China or anybody. We don't want to have war. War is dumb. People get killed in war. All right. That's it. Thanks a lot for coming by. It was a good, fun show tonight. Oh, we got more stuff. All right, I'll give you that, Inga. You said the chat messaging is misinterpreted. We are saying the same thing. I know we're on the same page. I just don't want to, use language that thinks in any way, shape, or form that they're going to be victorious. You know how you can tell that these guys are magicians and warlocks and witches and all that stuff? Because they always transmit what they're going to do. And that's where they get their power from. They tell you what they're going to do. It's nothing new, it's like Conor McGregor. He will say, I am going to kill my opponent. I'm going to pull his spleen out and chew it up and spit it back into his mouth. And his opponent, and when he hears that, he's like, it's a spell. And it creates fear, right? So in order for them to have a spell over you, they've got to say, we're going to take your property because we say we can. We've even got this bill that we put forward. We can take your property if we want to. Can and will, can and can, or the will and the can are two different things. But the fear that it creates in you that they're just going to take it. It's almost like they've won. You need to look at that and say, oh, yeah, you know what? I think we need to start pushing you guys that we need a bill put forward that when you suckers lie, we can hold you accountable. That's what I want, right? That's what I want. Do it. It's all swinging the other way now. It's okay. They made their best play, and now it is the Patriots' turn to make their play. And I guess we'll have to see. JFK foiled them with the refusal of Operation Northwoods. I'm sure that set them back a lot. That's a very interesting thing to look into if you don't believe that false flags are reality. All it takes is one good man. The ghost. Good night, all. See you later. Vindicti. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll second that motion. Stay safe, get prepared, and we'll see you Monday morning.